Good morning, actually. Watch it again.
So your response would be AM.
I said good morning, and you said, yes, it is a good morning. Lily Shani. Yeah, how are you? Good. Similar, I always think of Spanish, not bueno, bueno. My name is Darcy Stockdale, for those of you that don't know me, and we are the ZAM team. Actually, well, I'm going to introduce everybody. This is my daughter, Elena Stockdale. This is Allie, her friend. This is my friend Connie, my friend Chandel, Chandel's mom, Cherry. And just like we said to all the girls, we are mothers and daughters, and we are friends here, and we were sent by many friends in America to come to Zambia. So we can make ourselves laugh pretty easily when we say that when we're going to bed at night. And to remind you, yes, we're mothers and daughters and we're friends. So anyway, it's fun to be here today and tell you about our pictures. We've had such a great time and doing such a variety of things that we're really excited to tell you all about them. To start, I'm gonna, I want the order of doing these things. Many of you haven't seen pictures from Choshen before, so I wanted to kind of introduce you, take you to the farm first. That's usually our first experience of going to Zambia. Even before that, we flew out of Seattle. Seattle to Dubai was a 14.5-hour flight, and our ticket included a 15-hour layover in Dubai, so they put us up in a hotel and then had dinner and breakfast all as part of our ticket. It was kind of long, but really nice. And another 8-hour flight to Lusaka, and then we drove for a couple hours, spent the night, and then did an entire day of travel up to Fimpulu. So it was literally 3 days of planes, trains, not trains, but yeah, lots of traveling. So by the time you get to the village and your first experience, it's pretty cool to go to Choshen Farm. This is the site where, actually you can go to the next slide. It's like, this is kind of what you're driving through the village, you pass through the village, you're on this dirt road, and the next slide is one of my, this is a new gate at the entrance to the farm. It's the Choshen Farm, the farm in the Fimpulu Livestock Reserve. This is kind of a new feature of keeping all the livestock in the village kind of gated, and so it's not roaming around the village. So this is a new thing. We pass through the gate, and then this is one of my favorite places, one of my happy places to think about going there. I'm going to get teary, I better stop. To just know that right around that bend is you're going to cross the river, and you're going to be at the farm. So there's crossing the river, and you drive up the road, and then there's the ministry house. So for those of you who don't know, Jeremy Colvin, he 13 years ago lived in a tent for 2 years on this site, or near this site, and as he was given this land and farmed it, and then he and his parents built this house on top of this anthill, and it's changed over the years. From the first time I went there 11 years ago was pretty primitive, but yet now it has a solar power on top, so there's solar hot water heater that worked constantly in the middle of the night. But it was good. Meant hot water, flush toilet, a shower right at that top level of the farm, of the house. And so it's been fun to see how it's transformed over the years. So kind of like the central place of coming back to this place. So we go up the side steps, and then what I wanted to draw attention to is this map that's painted on the side of the building, because this gives you a picture of how the farm has changed over these 11 years, where it used to just be that house, and at different times there's been fields, there's been crops that have been grown there. But over time, this livestock reserve, it's been more what was kind of like the thing that stood out to me was, okay, they're not doing crops anymore, it's livestock, because this helps the village. The village those people, they know how to farm, and we assist some, but it's been more beneficial for us to buy their crops and help them process it and keep their animals. That's a more important thing for the village. But also, one of the key primary ministry efforts is this camp and conference center at the farm, which is on the left side of the map. So there's lots of cabins, there's bathhouses, there's a kitchen house, so it's like a cafeteria. There's a whole series of challenges, which I guess if you go on, well, actually before you do that, so you think about a camp that you would see here, like Riverview or something, where they have lots of people come, and Jeremy's vision is really that they can partner with the larger churches that are nearby, that are denominations for the whole province. It brings them to this place, gives them a place of retreat for their pastors and also for the kids and the women and men, just what all the conferences that they have, that it's like that is building them up and supporting them, that they can be a light to the whole region. And so it's really, he was stressing that before we left, that it's really God playing that on his heart, that it's something that he may never see himself, but this vision that is planted, that it's like this place will be a light for the future and to come. It's pretty cool. So, so even while we were there, it's like a group came and said, can we use the lecture hall? They would meet there, and all day they were singing and praying, and so you would hear them throughout the farm, and it's just, that's a really common thing that you would see happening. So throughout the presentation, like the lecture hall, we had an event there. Really, we were at the ministry house. The rest of it was kind of, it's winter there. It's more in August, because they'll have a lot of camps come. Last August, they had a women's camp of 700 women came and stayed there, and they'll put 200 women in the dormitory, and they had 700 women at the lecture hall. And so it's hard to imagine how many people cycle through there, but it's really cool. So the farm is about 1.5 miles from the center of the village, so it's kind of really, it does feel like you're going out on a retreat, and very special to go and to stay there. So I think the rest, a couple pictures. So here's your example of the livestock. There's 300 pigs. I don't remember how many goats, the chickens. That bottom picture is the oil expeller, so that's an example where they'll buy the sunflower seeds from the village, they'll press those seeds and then produce this oil, which then they can buy, and it's more beneficial for both the farm and them. Go back just 1 second. That in the bottom right, that's like what's left over after the oil is pressed out, and so then they can use that to feed the pigs. And that's Bronwyn there, their daughter. And so the far right, or bottom right, is the new peanut butter machine that the Garland Sports Camp raised money to pay for, to buy. And we saw it just have some kinks to work out, and I'm sure they're going to send a video of the peanut butter being produced, but that was one of the first runs there. And those of you, Simon and Janet, they're not here, but it's we did the last conference, the last time I was there was 5 years ago, and we did a conference in that upper area, but it was half the size, so we're just kind of showing how that area has expanded, and then that's where they eat together, and then all the bunkhouses. And when the youth team went a while ago, there was one bunkhouse, so it's cool how that's expanded. That slide is the dormitory. There's 2 large rooms like that at the bottom, and they'll lay 100 mattresses on the floor and have 200 people staying in the space for camp. And it's hard to imagine, but they do it. And then a huge plus is not using the toilet that's a hole in the ground, but there are flush toilets all over at camp. So that's great for teams, but also really good for everybody. So this is the series of challenges that they have. There's on the left, they've used the rack from an old Land Rover and set it up. That's the platform for the zip line that goes down through that little spot to the fish ponds down there, and you can zip zip line over the fish ponds and land in the fish pond if you want. So lots of fun. This is no, not as yet now. Then this is the suspended log. There's chains on both ends, and Ron was explaining a series of activities of like trying to get yourself lined up alphabetically or by age and different things like that, and how you have to do that. The next slide is the porthole, like hoisting people through the hole in the tire, and then this amazing slide, which is probably the most popular activity at the farm. And we don't have any video today, but there was lots of pictures of sliding down that. That's really fun. So later, Chandel's going to talk about the disability camp that we did with kids, and they got to experience all this, so that was fun for them to see those kinds of things. This is Jeremy Bethany's house and center, so the mile and a half away. It's been a great blessing to them to have something more solid. It has good malaria controls for them, because we know that's a constant battle for them, and just really looks, I don't have a picture of the inside, but just kind of a good, really functioning, nice place to be. And kind of wanted to just briefly mention the village, that there's, so the different efforts of Choshen is, there's the Camp and Conference Center, the school, which Tani's going to talk about. There's community development, so building water systems for clean water, that's been a big effort, and health. And this is called the tech shop, where there's things, since the village is probably a half an hour drive from the city, it's some of the basics for sale. Some use clothing or chatinis, which is the fabric, different things like that they can get at this small place, and it's a good way of teaching commerce, like how to budget, how to plan for selling things as a way of training their workers. So that's a new building and up and running. The next picture, okay, so this was an event that I wanted to briefly talk about, is that we heard that there was going to be in the community, that building up that we're standing in front of is a grain depot where they store grain and the village uses. And as the school has expanded, the community said, or there was an old grain depot on there that we had seen before, and the community said, you need to build us a new grain depot somewhere else so that we can have this land. So Choshen has done that over time, and so the plan was, on this day, there was going to be a dedication of it, complete with a ribbon cutting, and then the kids from the school were lined up to sing songs, and it was like a whole program. And the man in the upper left is the chief of the village, of a wide area, and he was there with his officials, but there was discontent from a couple of the people in the village that were spreading rumors, saying things that it's like they hadn't done enough, they needed to like put back the toilets behind the building, and just a variety of things, a lot of conflict. And so we spent 2 hours sitting out front in the sun, waiting to see if this event was even going to happen, which it didn't, because the community couldn't agree, and the chief said, the community needs to figure this out. And so the kids were, the farm had planned a big lunch, which they ended up feeding to the farm workers. But it just was like, as I was standing there, it reminded me again that this was like, oh, why didn't I not think about this? Is how much of the spiritual battle that Jeremy and Bethany go through on a day-to-day basis, of having people that may not agree with them. It's not just that, but just how when there are really good things happening with the ministry and things like that they face a lot of battle, and it's like we don't, I think I forget, I know I forget to be praying for them consistently, and the discouragement that they feel, that it's like we saw very strongly that day-to-day people are outside their door needing something, having issues with things and conflict that they're constantly dealing with, and how discouraged they are by that. So I just really wanted this to be, and they did, the end of the story was the next week they did have a community meeting that I went to was all in Bemba, just kind of sat there praying for them. And in the end, the community itself was on board with this and said, you're fine, it's all good, so they can move forward. But just still an invitation to all of you to keep them in your prayers daily for what they're dealing with. I think that was, yes. This is the main or one of the main reasons.
So, just about 2 years ago, Bethany put out an email to Darcy and I and said, we are ministering to all these girls in the Fimpulu area, and one of the big things that keeps them from attending school is having their period. And for us in America, that seems pretty ludicrous, but products are not readily available and they are expensive. So if you're a family and you have money for 2 meals a day, you're certainly not going to be buying feminine hygiene products each month. So there's a program called Days for Girls, which we started our chapter here. We're called the Spokane, Washington Days for Girls. And many of you women out there are people who are part of this. And so the team sent 5 of us to go take along some kids. And we had shipped 250, I believe. And then we packed 5 bags of 50 pounds each, or 74 kits. So that was on top of our other luggage, and hauled these with us on that 3-day trip to get to Fimpulu. We distributed about 550 of them, so there are still 70 kits there, and that's sort of like a little nest egg, because we're hoping that by next year there will be another 500, 600 or more ready to be distributed, and our goal is to start training some of the women in Africa to actually do the distributions. So we went to 5 schools. 4 of them we did inside in rather crowded, dark, poorly lit rooms, but the enthusiasm was extremely contagious. And then the largest distribution, which was almost 200 people, was outside. It's a program that was developed by Days for Girls. It's very set, and each of us took a portion of it. We talked about female bodies. We talked about them being created by a loving God. We talked about them being of great worth, and that we thought there were things that they could make good choices of. And we taught them how to use their kits. We taught them how to care for them. And the 2 stars of the show were the 2 young ladies on me, and quite frankly, one thing, the teenagers could relate to them. The other thing was that both Ellie and Elena stepped up, and they did an amazing job. But one of the things they did is they would model how to use the shields and liners for these. So they were in their pants, because they don't wear panties in Africa, they wear pants. And they would put on their feminine hygiene product, and they would dance and show the girls how they would fit and how they would stay in place. They also really made with the girl. Yeah, they were amazing. The other piece that they did, and we did a couple of things that we added on to the program, in that we shared things personally. So we shared about a belief that God loves these girls, and that they are made, they are precious. And that their periods is a very normal thing. And both Ellie and Elaine shared about making good choices. One of the things that happens in Zambia, and especially in this area because of the poverty, is there's a high rate of girls dropping out of school. They get pregnant at an early age, many of them at 13 years of age. They have multiple children, and then they are stuck in that poverty for the rest of their life. So these 2 girls stood up there and talked about making good choices, and what it would mean if they were to choose, to be sexually active and to possibly get pregnant or get an STD. And that was really helpful. So thank you. Let me think. Just a couple little anecdotal things. When we show up at a school, so Jeremy had arranged for us to do this at different schools. We get there, and whether we had a crew of girls to see or not, depended on sort of what Fimpulu had decided for the day. So they might have decided that all the 8th graders were going to take a test or practice test. And so they might not be there for us to hand out. But you know what? God still sent us girls, and we were able to still hand out kits. The other thing we did each time is, as a team, we had to march into the headmaster or the madame's or two of us would have to go back and sign this little notebook that said who we were, why we were there, what we did. And the funniest piece was they never, ever had a pen. Every time they asked us to sign, there was never a pen, all 5 times. It was so bizarre. I would like every one of you who knows how to use a computer, if you have not read the blog that Bethany wrote following the Days for Girls distribution, go to Choshen Farm, and up in the top right corner, there's a place that says blog. And I just want to read you a couple of things at the very end of her blog. We had some amazing teachers. So usually we had one teacher that would interpret for us. And I don't know if we have a picture of the one, but we had this one who was, she actually is a pastor's wife, a science teacher, and she was, on my Facebook, I said she was sassy, and she was just a kick in the pants. But the favorite quote from her was this: "People from across an ocean made these for you so that you could come to school and learn. Do you see how special you are? Do you see how special you are? Truly, this is the message. You are special, you are loved, you are valuable, you are smart, you are capable, you can learn, and you can be great things." And that's what Days for Girls can do for these girls. So, and then one last picture. This is Mary. Mary's last name. But for the ladies in focus, back in April of this year, Bethany had contacted us about a woman that she was doing wound care on. Mary has, you can just see the bandage on her left leg. She had a burn that started at her ankle and it goes up to mid-thigh, and it encompasses the entire part of her leg. And then she had burns down the inside of her right leg. She went to the hospital and they started doing debridement. The way they do it here is what we did here probably 30 years ago, and it's you put a wet dressing on, you let it dry, and then you pull the dressing off. Quote unquote, it debrides the wound. Well, it also rips off all the new fresh tissue, and it's extremely painful. You have to know that right now in Zambia, there's no Tylenol available. The government has, for some reason, not made it available, and so there was also no pain reliever for her. So the hospital sent her home because they didn't have enough things to take care of her, and she was done. And so essentially she was sent home to die. So her husband brought her to the farm. I don't know how long the drive they walked. How she walked, I have no idea. And asked for Bethany to start taking care of her because they had heard that she does do wound care at times. You have to know that Bethany is a wordsmith. She is not medical in any stretch of the imagination. And I went with fear and trepidation, and she was already 3 months into the wound care. Anyway, in April, Bethany said, you know, I've got this going on and we need supplies. And the focus ladies here took up an offering, and our first shipment in May 1st was $1,000 worth of wound care supplies and nutritional supplements. So for wound care to heal, you need nutrition. So she has been receiving 2 to 3 supplements every day since that first part of May. When we went over, we took almost another $1,000 worth of treatments that should get her into October, and Lord willing, her wound will be healed at that time, or it'll be close to it. She may never walk again, but she will have a leg, and it's possible that sometimes she could have surgery that would allow her to have some walk. This is a joyful, wonderful woman, extremely poor. Her husband is a farmer. He walks up until Bethany and Jeremy gave them a bicycle. He walked 10 kilometers a day, worked his fields, and walked home. So pray for Mary and her husband. They have multiple children and live in a house that's smaller than my kitchen. I never saw her wear anything different than this. That was, and I treated her for over 2 weeks. So just remember that, okay? And remember Bethany, because this really is a stretch for her. Oh, good. Sit. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. My role here, and I talked to Terry after service, and I told Terry, I said, you took my whole speech, because
I have started this journey many years ago, as far as just the passion that God's put inside of me for teaching for children, to work over in countries and cultures of high need and vulnerability. And through my journey, that's kind of been put on, hold for various reasons, kids and raising my own and different things. But that flame and that passion's always been there, and I just kind of just waited, for God to open the door. Well, God opened the door, and it was kind of like, oh my gosh, God's opening the door. Okay, what do I do? Well, of course, He opens the door. You walk through. But as I started this process off and thinking about what Bethany needed, and she specifically asked me to do some consulting with teachers there and in the school, and I thought, okay, I've got expertise there, that's what I do. I've done it for years. And it's interesting because as I prepared, I'm thinking, of culture, because I've been overseas before, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? And it's like what we do here, and my expertise and my knowledge and my comfort zone of what I can do may not match there. And I spent many weeks fretting, what do I do? What am I going to do? What am I going to bring? And preparing again, and throwing those plans aside, and preparing something else, and throwing that aside, and so eventually I prepared some binders, and consulting she requested was going to be like in guided reading, specifically some teacher training in guided reading, an instructional model that would improve the academics for these students. And not being there, not seeing, I still felt really uncomfortable, and God kept telling me, just let it go. Let go, step outside, let go, trust me. And so like I said, I was listening to Terry this morning thinking, oh my goodness. Okay, so I really had to learn to let go and go somewhat unprepared, although I brought some binders. I started off going there and then just Bethany and I talked, and she said, let's just watch these teachers for 2 days. And I said, okay, that's great, I would love to do that. And as I sat there and I watched the teachers for 2 days, I thought, oh my gosh, everything I brought, I gotta toss it, I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? I'm here in a third world country, I don't have any materials, and I don't know what to do. So it's just like God just said, let it go, you just watch. So I watched, and my biggest thing that came to my heart was I wanted to come underneath these teachers and encourage them and honor what they have already done, what they've already learned. There are 9 teachers total. Most all of them have been through some university experience. There is one teacher there in the red striped tie and the blue shirt from third from the left. Jimmy, he does not have any formal education, and he was one of my best teachers because he was teachable. He was wide open, ready to learn. He was always my volunteer. The tall one, actually over on the right, the tallest one in the back, he was my little stickler. Actually, I would use the teachers as a model to what we were going to show the kids, but I would use the teachers and I'd say, okay, you're my students. And I would show them being my students, so they were interacting with me. Some of the guided reading model, and Joseph is his name, the tall one in the back, and he was always the one being the stinky kid. He was always the one picking the wrong answer, and I was so grateful he did, though, because as a part that is a problem there with their instructional model is the teachers are up front and the students are sitting 50 of them, 40 to 50 in rows, and they only say what the teachers tell them to say. That's it. That's their model of instruction. The teacher says it, the student says it. This is all English immersion. But the teacher says it, and the kids repeat it back in a chant, and that is the main instructional model there. So I wanted to show the teachers that the kids can interact. You don't have to tell the kids what to say. So when Joseph would go off, and I'd ask them a question as they were my students in a small group, and he would go off, give the wrong answer, I would go, and they were waiting for me to tell them the answer. No, look over here. I would give them a little hint or a little scaffold, and he would keep doing this until I narrowed it in, and he had to choose the right answer. But that was good because it showed them you don't have to tell the kids the answer. You can set them up to think for themselves and to answer and to learn. So that was the number one thing that I realized needed to happen. And the other key part of that with these students is they're used to the teachers telling them, so they'll just sit there and wait. So once I got to working with the students and these teachers got to working with the students, we would ask the kiddos something to interact with pieces of learning, and they would look at the teachers like, what do I do? What do I say? And I had to stop the teachers from telling them, and we had to encourage the students to interact. The beautiful thing was, once this happened, and some of the other pictures were some of the materials I brought, you'll see, they started off with chalkboards. This is what they had before, and you can see how they had to split it up in the bottom picture, so they don't even get their own chalkboard. They had to split it and share it. So many times they're just copying off of each other, and they're not using their own abilities. And then I brought sleeve protectors with white paper in them. Tag would have been better, but it was heavier for our flight, so I was just using paper and dry erase markers and the felt erasers. And I showed the students and the teachers that instead of one student going up to the board and giving an answer, they can all interact right at their seats. They can all respond, they can all interact. And the teachers were a little fearful at first. They're like, oh, they're just gonna play with their tools and they're gonna, you know. I said, well, we're gonna teach them that they're not. And so we did that, we modeled it, we did it, and the kids were so excited. And once the teacher saw, oh, every student can respond, they can interact, they're like, wow, this is really cool, you know. So it took modeling and teaching. These are old patterns, they're old habits, they're old ways of them learning there, which, you know, we've done for years, but there is a more interactive way for these kids to be learning and showing what they know. And once the teachers saw that, they were very excited and they just engaged right away in it. So two of my teachers, Jimmy and Malama, so anyways, there's 9 teachers, there's one school building, and if we go back to that school building, and it's split in 2. So there's actually, so here's one side, this was, there's the big building, and it's split in half, and on one half you have a class operating at the same time, on the other half you do, with different teachers and different grades. They have grades pre-K, first, second, and now they're gonna add third this next year. So a lot of kiddos, I think there's around 300, 250, 300, and they come at different times, and so in each classroom there's like 40 to 50, and then trying to show them the small group model, which you can see Jimmy taking it on, he volunteered every time, and the kids sitting around and showing them how they can interact. It was beautiful, and these were 2 of the teachers that were very engaging. Malama is down on the far right, and she's a very skilled teacher. They all are skilled teachers, and so just trying to encourage them in trying something different and showing them that there is success and how this helps their students learn was really, really cool. So, how much time do I have? I'm okay. So go ahead and flip through another screen. Let me see if it jogs up my brain. Again, I'm modeling with Jimmy. Jimmy's helping and teaching them how we're going to use the tools. Go ahead and flip through. Oh, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot of print in their classroom. One thing I noticed was that these kids know a lot of English, and they sing songs in the beginning, opening part of their morning, nursery rhymes, Bible songs. There was nothing written in print for them, so that's the other thing I noticed. Let's get the songs they already have memorized and the English words out on print. So we had chart paper there, and I'm hoping that they wrote those out. I wanted the teachers to take ownership of that and write that out. So the other thing you'll notice is there's not many books. They do have some books. There's some Zambian books there, but they're limited resources, limited numbers. And so Bethany has requested that we do a book drive, which I am kind of in charge of. So, reading levels for first grade, K, first grade, second grade, and then into third grade. And that's kind of something I acknowledge in the challenges is finding titles that have content that these kids can identify with for their lives there in Africa. So there's a lot of work that I spent a little bit on trying to find the exact correct books that have content. For example, like there's some books that I found online that we can print, but one of them was on the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, that's not, you know, something that they're going to be able to relate to. So I have actually found some books through some publishing companies and online that are content good for these kiddos and that are leveled just appropriately to follow them through kindergarten, first, second, and up to third. And we are going to do a book fund drive. Part of that is going to be led through the online site that can be given towards. So if you are interested in purchasing books, and they're about $5 even to print. I did some cost hunting through Staples and what was used to be Kinko's and some other places around Spokane to print off some books and get them laminated. That's the other problem, is laminating these, because the weather there is wet in many months and they do not have closed buildings. As you can see, there's open windows and such. And so Bethany requested that they either be laminated or we print them off on waterproof paper. By the time I added all that cost up with some of the ones I was going to make, it's about $5 a book. And I did find a publishing company with them already made that was about $4.60 a book. So we need many, many titles and many levels and many copies per group that we're going to have. So if you are interested, Choshen Farm does have a link that you can just go to the website, Choshen Farm, and it's a donating. And if you want to donate towards books, you could go to this link and there is a place you could write in what you want this for. I want to donate this amount for the book fund. And that will go exactly there. Meanwhile, I'm going to purchase them, get it together since I have knowledge of what they need there, and then just get reimbursed from the site. So that is something that you can be involved in if you would like. The other thing Bethany has requested of me, and I kind of opened my mouth when I was there, we were discussing her needs, and there are very long-term needs with the teachers and with the school. She is carrying a huge load. God helped me understand and really see the load, Bethany, and both Jeremy, but I was very tied to what Bethany was doing there, not only with the wound care, and she homeschools her kids, and the farm, and the school, and the load they carried. My heart was just heavy, and I had a discussion with Bethany at one evening, and she was just overwhelmed by the needs she has for the school. She is like the head administrator, principal, but she doesn't have a whole lot of that expertise in training teachers and knowing the educational materials, and she needs someone to come alongside of her. She kind of looked at me, and I don't know why this came out of my mouth. I don't know what happened. But I said, well, I can take a leave from school. And I said it, and I went, wow, where'd that come from? And I was very quiet after that, and I went home, and I went to the farm house, and I thought about it, and I thought, what did I say? And then my brain started thinking about, what do you mean I can take a leave? And I started thinking what that might look like, and I hadn't even thought about it. And I know Bethany didn't say anything about it that night either. She just kind of looked at me on it. And so later on that week, we talked more, and she says, well, when are you going to retire? And again, out of my mouth came something like, I've never really thought about retiring in the States anyway, so it's kind of like, oh. So I'm just kind of digging myself in a hole a little bit. But it is things that God has put on my heart. And so we talked further, and Bethany, we kind of talked about paring this back and coming for a few months. So I am currently looking into taking a few months leave from work, which that would be unpaid, which there's some hurdles to jump through. I don't owe a whole lot financially. I have a house payment, and that's about it, and then utilities. So I'm looking at coming, trying to get those things taken care of, going for a few months starting January, coaching teachers. She said that is a huge need she would have. Why January? Is because that's the beginning of the school year for them. She wants me to get them started off, coaching them in this model, get the materials there, get the books there, hopefully by November, October, and then coming and coaching the teachers and how to use them and how to do this model. They super need that. So that is what I'm praying about. There are hurdles for me. I would need somebody to stay in my house. I would need a house payment. There's things there that I'm going to look at trying to see if we can get taken care of, and we're just going to walk through it. So Terry's message again, step out, trust. I'm just kind of like, okay, this is set before me. My life is not my own. My journey is not my own. If this is what he wants to have happen, then I'm going to step into it. And for you guys, I've thought about the application. You guys have areas. How many of you guys have done things that were outside of your comfort zone? That you thought, okay, I have an ability here. Ooh, but this is stretching it a little bit. That's applicable to you guys as well. You know what I mean? Where is it that God's asking you to step outside and you know, rub shoulders with somebody at work, or somebody in your neighborhood, or walk alongside somebody, or stepping out and trusting? And so this is no different than that. It's just my area of expertise that I think I have that now I realize is so different in Africa. And so, anyways, come see me if you're interested in books, or just go to the Choshen website and you'll know more. We'll talk more about what I might be doing in January.
just really fast from the Choshen side, this building here used to be the LRC that in 2010 we did a pastors conference there, and it had no roof on it, and now inside is this beautiful space for the little kids and these really cool metal window coverings, which are, I don't know, they're kind of funny. And then lastly is a picture of Bethany, just an example of, picture her as the headmistress of the school, walking along with her bag, and she would sit and observe classes and work on work, just trying to like multitask but then that building there, that's the original Green Depot that we, in 2008, saw the first preschool class in that building. And so we're currently like, it's been on hold, that's gonna be the new cafeteria for the whole school. So like buying peanuts from the villagers to make the peanut butter with a peanut butter machine to help feed these kids that need protein to learn. That's a really big undertaking, and just in the last couple months the funds have come through, and that's going to probably get finished and hopefully be ready for January when the new term happens.
All right, so I went in many capacities. I went as a speech therapist, so I'll talk about that first. So you'll see in that top corner left side the teacher's room. That's their room that they hold their supplies in and meet every morning, and every Wednesday they have a Bible study that Tony and I were able to participate in once. And if we had not left early the following Wednesday, we would have been holding the Bible study. So they just randomly select someone to do it. And then on the far left is the special education classroom, and this is a picture of inside the classroom. So they had another individual from Ithaca there this summer for 2 months, Anna, and she came in and helped Daniel, the special education teacher, create this space, the special education classroom, which is absolutely phenomenal for what they are using and what they're doing in there. So you can go ahead. And so this is Daniel in the white coat, and Anna is across the table, and myself. We were working with a little girl who has cerebral palsy. She walks approximately 4K each way to school. She has speech, but I'm teaching Daniel that in general, overall, so not only is the medical side 30 years delayed, the education system is about 30 years behind. So it was very apparent on these one-on-one sessions that they're learning English, but they don't know content. They don't know how, she's identifying a ball in a picture, but when I bring in a ball, she can't name it. So there's some of this lacking. So I did a lot of educating with Daniel how to build that language and everyday things. And then just also working with children with cerebral palsy, which in the school right now there's 3 children, but there's a lot in the community. What he needs to do to help them continue with their education and their overall well-being activities and daily living. And then, so that's me on the left, brain dumping on poor Daniel. So you can pray for him. He has a huge undertaking. So he not only does all of the special education, but he also administers all of the assessments to the entire school. And so he is also very divided. He is one of the prodigals of Bethany and Jeremy. He has gone through, and he just graduated in October or May with his bachelor's degree from the University of Zambia. So he wants to learn. He is just taking it and give me, and asking questions. I gave him a book, and 24 hours later, yes, I have questions. Can we sit down and talk? Yeah. And this is speech therapy questions, so kind of outside of his comfort zone. So then you'll see on the other side is a little girl and her mom, Mabel, and she has a profound hearing loss, but was given a hearing aid a year ago. But no functional test was done, so nobody knew what she was hearing. So also the other problem is they don't know how to care for the hearing aids, so there's a lot of dust in Zambia. And the hearing aids would end up dusty and then they don't work. So then she has to wait till she can get a ride into the city to have it cleaned. So at this point, she hadn't been wearing her hearing aid for over a month because So I brought 2 kits for cleaning hearing aids, and I taught Daniel, and then Mabel's mom how to clean her hearing aid. Daniel will keep the other kit in his office for another little boy, Arnold, who is also has profound hearing loss. His family's not involved, so we were reticent to give out the kit to his family. So Daniel's going to keep it and take care of the hearing aid at the school. So this is working with Mabel's mom is phenomenal. She has been part of the community a long time. Bernadette.
She's been at the pastors' conference in 2010.
So it's just repeatedly, we see these connections and these people coming back, which was phenomenal. So then I was able to teach Daniel how to functionally test the hearing aid, so we know she's hearing something, which was fantastic. So something on a side, one day, it was in the evening, we were sitting back at the farmhouse, and all of a sudden, unexpectedly, Emmanuel, who is Jeremy's second, he does everything around there, drives everywhere. He all of a sudden shows up with his mom and his 13-year-old boy, and they have walked 10 kilometers to see me. Talk about feeling inadequate because I could help or fix it. He had cerebral malaria 2 years ago, and now basically has had a traumatic brain injury or like a stroke. So he, on his right side, has weakness. His arm is up curled. He walks with a gait and limp, but he can walk. So they walked 10 kilometers to see me, and his mom wants me to figure out how he can hear. And this is an intelligent young man. He just all of a sudden starts talking, and he is expressing how he wants to go to school and what he wants to do with his life, but he has no hearing. I had an amplifier, we tried it, so Manuel is like saying things to him in the amplifier, and I'm turning this up. So think about having like a headset on and you crank that up as high as you possibly can. He hears nothing. But not knowing anatomically or physiologically what's happened, he is a really good candidate to go in to see the audiologist in Lusaka. So it means a trip for Bethany and Jeremy to take this family into Lusaka to see the audiologist to potentially get either a hearing aid or a cochlear implant or a it just depends what it has happened because of the cerebral malaria. But talk about a humbling experience that someone hears through the community and then they walk 10 kilometers to see you. So I was pretty emotional. It was very nice to have my mother there because we actually physically assessed him too, because he would be a perfect candidate for like an orthotic for helping him with walking and things. Just right. So they had already been to see Bethany and Jeremy twice, and so it was just this was just that affirmation that yes, he needs to go to Lusaka and have a hearing test done. So then the other big thing, I did the Days for Girls, but the other big thing is we hosted a camp for kids with cerebral palsy and other disabilities. So I think there was around 70 total between parents and kids. We fed that many. So this is the top is the camp, the start of the camp. So I was the Choshen Conference Center camp and conference center workers are phenomenal. They brought out these mattresses that are laid out on the floor so the parents could lay their kids down while we're talking. And then we started. They came in 2 buses, so this is one of 2 buses that they crowded into. And then it's hard to see, but you can see there's one mom there with the child on her back. At one point, all of these kids were carried by their parents on their backs with shatekes. 2 kids did have wheelchairs, so they range in age from 2 to 3 years of age to 20. They are all underdeveloped, they're small in stature, they're underweight. So we talked this first session, we talked about nutrition and food, how they can also have a safe swallow. These are all things that here in the States that we take for granted. We would have had this the minute that we realized this child had cerebral palsy. And these parents, many of them haven't heard this, or they heard it once from an OT about 6 months ago. I'm just reaffirming and telling them. So that was a lot of their questions had to do with how can I help my child grow? How can I help them stay healthy? A lot of them are aspirating their food and drink because of what they have available. So we were looking at what was available for them to use in this capacity. And then we moved on to, we also did some individual assessing to later find out, we would like it to see if we can get some mobility for these kids. So whether we access some wheelchairs or they're a form of a jogging stroller. Many of these kids do not have the capability to sit and use a wheelchair, but whatever we could do to possibly get them off of their parents' backs. They stay home because traveling is difficult. So last year when Bethany and Jeremy hosted this first camp, for some of them, that was the first time they've been out of their home. So it's pretty heart-wrenching. So during this whole time, I think it was one of the pictures before, you'll see in the bottom corner, Sebastian. Many people have heard of Sebastian. He was my interpreter for the entire conference. During this time, this is when the community meeting was happening, so we were at the center, at the conference center with Sebastian and the workers, and we talked about it yesterday that we were well taken care of. I mean, we weren't ever concerned that Bethany and Jeremy weren't with us. So you'll see this bottom picture that all the moms are getting ready to leave and they have the kids on their backs. But Elena and Allie were phenomenal. They stepped in and we had talked about what this might look like, just engaging with these kids. If you haven't physically engaged with kids with cerebral palsy, they typically drool a lot. They don't have the structure, and they stepped up and were holding them, playing with them, loving on them, blowing bubbles. It was just fantastic. Then another time I was showing in the afternoon after we had lunch, we did communication, and I had to pretty much, like Tani said, I had a plan and it all went out the door because I was going to talk about how they can use PEC systems, so it's a picture exchange system like what we do. I had parents writing on receipts, that was the paper they had access to, so we had to change, and then I went to nonverbal communication and just what does that look like and how can we expand that for them. And then I just demonstrated just some ideas on how to get some speech sounds out of a little guy, Christopher, who was very engaging, he was fun. So then these women are just, I can't even put into words how amazing they are. They were asking some very poignant questions, and just at one point, one of them just said something to the effect like, I'm not sure how I can take this burden any longer, or how do I go on? Sebastian stepped up. He is eloquent in speech. He did it in Bemba, but the gist of it for probably 15 to 20 minutes. But he just said that God had died on the cross for us, and at this time this is their burden to carry, but that God has already redeemed it, and that these kids are precious and a gift. These women then turned around and started singing praises for 20 minutes, just at the top of their lungs. There's a video. It's phenomenal. So that was a pretty special day. So that was the disability camp. And let's see, what are the next? Oh, home visit.
So me and Chandel got to stay with Sebastian and Elizabeth, his wife, and this was such a fun experience. On the way there, Bethany was telling us to make sure that we had the best experience we could. We needed to tell Sebastian and Elizabeth that we wanted it to be a learning experience. So we did that, and so got to pound the cassava, and then we helped Elizabeth sift it. It was kind of fun. We were very good at it. She would teach us different words in Bemba, and so it was just kind of fun. That's pretty much the only interaction we had with her because she didn't speak any English, so just be periodically, like, she'd point something and we'd say the word and we'd repeat it back, and then she'd laugh at us because we couldn't say it. And I think the only word I remember is imbalala, which is groundnut or peanut. So that was a lot of fun. We went to church the next morning, the Catholic Church with Sebastian, and this woman down here on the right, she was visiting that church that Sunday, and she kind of took me and Chandel on, and she was a government worker, or previously had been, so she knew English, and so she would kind of translate for us, and Chandel probably tells it better, but she would say something to Chandel, and then if Chandel didn't repeat it to me, because I'm sitting right next to Chandel, she would like whack her on the leg. So she was super great, and it was fun. And then, yeah, so there's a picture on the left, that's me and Chandel with Sebastian, Stephen, yeah, their son, and then Elizabeth. And then after church, we all were able to go to Sebastian's for lunch, and that's us sitting up there. That was great, and he wanted us to tell him an echo, or tell him something that would be an echo in his house that he could remember, so we each went around the circle, and that was kind of a special moment. He was just sitting there crouched against the wall, and I don't know, it was a very cool moment. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Okay, so Tawny and I, for our homestay, we went the same night, but we went to a different home. We stayed with Arthur and Hillary. Arthur wasn't there very much. We didn't get to see him a lot except for our dinner, but we hung out with Hillary a lot. And so that's a picture of us with Hillary. There's Hillary in the morning. She was cooking, she was roasting cassava for breakfast. And then on the bottom is our bed. So we had a little mattress, and then we had 2 chairs on either end, and we draped our mosquito net over it. Arthur was ready with a nail and a hammer. He was ready to pound into his wall to set up our mosquito net. We're like, no, we can just use your chairs, it's okay. He's like, okay. So we did that, we shared that tiny bed, and yeah, so there's Arthur and Hillary on the bottom left, and then on the bottom right, some of their neighbors came over in the evening, and they were kind of talking to us, just hanging out with us. They didn't speak much English, so they would teach us some words, and sometimes Hillary would translate as well. Can you go back? Yeah. Okay, so on the top is corn, so it is maize. So they had this structured bowl of maize, and that's how they get most of their money, because they will dry the maize, and then you like pop the kernels off, and then they can sell the kernels or get them made into meal to make their food.
So these are just a few pictures, or the bottom right one is from when we were waiting for the depot opening ceremony, and we were just playing with the kids because they were probably bored, we were kind of bored too, so. And then the other 2 are just 2 pictures I picked out from one of the schools we went to, and these are just kind of special pictures to me because I think kind of going, I didn't necessarily feel like I had any, like I didn't feel like I added anything like personally, but I was realizing more throughout the week how cool it was to experience the Spinal Step and the Days for Girls process, and how that it was not anything I was doing, but that it was cool to represent like the work that everyone else has been doing, and that it would, like, wasn't mine, but I was just representing it, and it was such a blessing to be able to do that. I'm really thankful for that. And, I think also just looking at these pictures of these girls, like, I just keep going back and looking at them, and these girls are so beautiful, and they have so much energy and so much potential, and just, I think about them a lot, and I don't know, like, hope that maybe one day I can go back and help continue this, because it is such a cool ministry, and it's such a cool opportunity to see this something that we can give them that will maybe add to their life in a a way that, and then me and Ali went after you and got to paint the play structure. We were saying yesterday that the paint, oh yeah, Chandel did too, and Brian, but we were saying that the paint's probably washed off by now, but, so yeah, and then, well, on the bottom right, on the last slide, me and Ali were joking that Jeremy just was like, okay, go meet Emmanuel down at the container and he'll show you what to do. He opened the container for us and like was like, okay, go ahead. And we're like, we didn't know what paint to grab, we didn't know where there was brushes or like stir stick. And then we had to carry the big 5-gallon buckets by ourselves. We're like, Emmanuel, you didn't even help us. So we were joking that Jeremy didn't tell us what to paint, so we just decided to paint ourselves.
We had a really special time. Many people here also sponsor children in center, so we were able to go and see our kids that we sponsor in center and visit and interact. So you'll see this was Saturday. Mom, myself, and Tawny and Bethany went, and so she had written notes to them and said, "We're coming to visit, please stay home." And then we found out as we were going, she really didn't know where all the homes were. General area. Well, I know I park here and it's this general area. So we got out and talk, say, you know, does so-and-so live here? Oh yes, they're just over there. So we just start walking. So as we're walking throughout the day, we'd get more and more kids. And this is the main road. So we're walking down a main road with like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds. And their parents are just okay with this. And you and us as Americans are like, huh, there's a little bit. But, Mom, I'll let you talk about that first.
Just what we did is we took small gifts to share with them and just to tell them that we sponsored them, and then to ask if they had any prayer requests. And probably the biggest prayer request, and the one for sure with my family, was they have huge needs in terms of goods. They need a bicycle, they need food, they need things like that. And the hard part is you can't fix it all, right? But one of the cool things was that Tom had brought nail polish and Chanel had brought gum and little tiny ones, and they were hits. We learned afterwards that you really can't take a gift just to the child, that you're sponsoring, and when all there's 20 more kids. So we just started writing down ideas for the next time somebody goes to visit. But if you have the chance to sponsor your child, we think it's great. Oh, there I am. There's my family. So yeah, it was just a real blessing. So I had 2 families I went to visit, and I was taken back, I think, at the level of poverty that they lived in. I mean, all through the village, they're at a level of poverty. I think I was just a little more surprised and taken back once we got there and we were visiting. But it was a real blessing, and the kids kept collecting. And they wanted to see what it was that we brought. And what was interesting is that once we gave the kiddos something, they went and took it right inside of their house, because that's their safe place, and they didn't want anyone taking it, they didn't want to share it. So they would just take it inside the house and they'd come back out and visit with us, so it was real precious to them. But it was a real blessing just to see the kiddos come and walk with us. And this mom that's sitting on the left side down on the ground, that was one of the mothers. Julia is the gal in the purple up by me. And her mom had just had a baby in July and had a C-section and wasn't doing well. And the father soon came a few minutes after that and was having some struggles himself, and actually got it together by the time we left. But it was just it was a heart-wrenching situation with the families and the conditions that they're in there. So, but it was good to see them. So.
Okay, so towards the end of our trip, we got to go to Capicia Hot Springs, and we drove all day, spent the night, and then we had a full day at the hot springs. So it was really nice. We got to hang out with Bethany and Jeremy and the kids a lot. It was a real treat for them to go on a little vacation as well. So yeah, we stayed at a little campground and set up 3 tents, and yeah. So one of the days we went on a little like nature walk type thing. We crossed this really nice bridge. Yeah, that's burned halfway through because of conflict on both sides. They burned it quite a few times in the middle, and then they just kind of build it back up. So we walked across that, and we went in, yeah. So we walked across, and we went and saw cave paintings on rocks. And so on the right, one of them, the squirrels, people, when they came by every year, they would add another spot, another line around it, so that you could see how many years they've been. And then, so this is Buffalo Camp. After we went to the hot springs, we drove for another day, and we ended up here, and this is the safari that we went on. So we stayed in these little hut type things. They're completely made out of bamboo, and they actually remake them every year. They tear the whole thing down and completely redo them. It takes them about 8 days to do. So there were 2 of us in each little hut, and it was really nice. It was super pretty there, and it was really cool. So while we were there, on our way driving up, we saw a rhino, a black rhino, which was super cool. We were driving up this little hill, and right when we got to the top and around the corner, there's this huge rhino just right there. We're like, whoa! So, like, it was so close to the car, we could have reached out and practically touched it. So we saw 4 of the big 5, animals that people usually like to see. So we saw elephants, we saw a pride of lions, we saw the rhino, we saw water buffalo, but we didn't see a leopard. But we saw all the others. Yeah, so there's impala. They're like little, super, super bouncy deer. And we saw pride of lions, the first night that we went out, which was super cool because it's pretty rare. And we saw some warthogs. We also saw a zebra, and one of the nights we went on a night drive in the evening, so we leave. Both of the nights we were there actually, but this night, on the bottom left, we went out and we saw a pond full of hippos. And so we sat there while the sun set, and we got to watch the hippos. And then we also saw the baboons. Yeah. Then we drove to Lusaka after our time at the safari. And there we got to see a giraffe of a little reserve, because where we were at the safari, we were in North Luanga, and the giraffes are only in South Luanga, so we didn't get to see them, but we saw some in Lusaka. That was super cool. And then we saw some more zebras as well. So driving on our way to Lusaka, we would see a lot of people outside selling things. Lots of people selling cassava and tomatoes and maize and cabbage. And so on the top is a picture of that. People just stand by the road all day and sell their stuff, trying to make some money. And then on the bottom is a shitenge shop that we went to. So shitenge is the fabric that we all have on. It's like made into clothes and stuff. And so you go, and there are tons of shitenges just covering the walls, and you can pick them out, and you write down the number. They all have a little number, so you write down the number, and then you give it to the person behind the counter, and they go and pick all of them out, and then bring them back for you.
So I think that was like chronologically how this all came out. So and then back in Lusaka, spent a night at a guest house there, and then went on. And so just such a great time of meeting with Jeremy and Bethany. Just admire them so much and the work that they do, and their kids, Bronwyn, Naomi, and Dominic. And so it was really a blessing and just a privilege to go. And So anyway, just thank you so much, and